Episode 79. The burly man listened to Han Li's words, and at first he was taken aback, but after clearly hearing what was said, he began to laugh.
Every word I've said is true. You're welcome to test it for yourself.
Han Li didn't stand on ceremony. He fished out a wine cup-like object from his person, placed it on the ground, and then draped the cloth over it. Once the cup vanished, Han Li extended a finger, condensing a white sphere of spiritual qi the size of a rain hat at its tip. He gave it a gentle tap, and the light sphere began to vanish bit by bit, as if being devoured. Seeing this, Han Li's face lit up. He reached out and grabbed the cloth, lifting it into his hand. The wine cup reappeared, and inside it floated the very light sphere that had just vanished. You're right about this. I'll take the magic treasure fragment, and the flight talisman is yours. The burly man was overjoyed. He snatched the flight talisman into his hand and hastily turned it over a few times. Only after confirming it wasn't a fake did he say with a grin,
Good. You're a man of your word.
Han Li gave a faint smile and said nothing more, then turned and slipped out of the crowd.
What a fool. To trade a high-grade talisman for such a useless trinket.
Exactly.
What good is such a tiny fragment?
This kind of trade is simply not worth it.
Now, don't say that. They might have a clever use for it.
Hey brother, wait up.
Han Li hadn't gone far when a voice suddenly called out from behind him. Han Li was taken aback and turned to look. He saw a figure sprinting toward him, sweating profusely. It was the round-faced youth who had nearly caused a major disaster. Han Li blinked, his curiosity piqued. He wondered what this clown of a guy could possibly want, to chase after him with such desperate urgency.
Brother, I finally caught up to you.
Is there something you need, brother?
Here, take this. It's a small thank you for helping me out back there.
The young man reached out and pressed a small booklet into Han Li's hand. Shyly, gave a little smile, and then ran off. Han Li was taken aback for a moment, but then he smiled. To think there was such a guileless person among cultivators. That truly was beyond his expectations. He then looked down at the object in his hand. It was a book titled The Qingxi Records, which didn't seem to be a cultivation manual or anything of the sort. He flipped through a few pages. It turned out to be a miscellaneous journal, a detailed record of secret tales and legends known to a certain senior cultivator from the Yu Kingdom, the clear stream true person who disliked cultivation and preferred to wander about. Some pages even featured strikingly lifelike illustrations. Han Li hadn't flipped through many pages, but he was already quite intrigued. He tucked the booklet into his robes. After wandering around for a bit, Han Li found it rather dull, so he returned to his quarters, lay down on the bed, and began to carefully peruse the Qingxi records. Some of the events recorded in this book were the personal experiences of the Clear Stream Master himself, while others were merely hearsay, yet, without exception, they were all bizarre, rare, and strange tales. Some of them, in fact, were secret stories from cultivation families that were never shared with outsiders. It's a mystery how Qingxi Shangren came by such knowledge. Han Li read with great interest. But when he flipped to the last few pages, 7 different illustrations of token-like objects appeared before his eyes. Below the pictures, a few lines of text were written.
The Ascension Immortal Token, forged by the 7 great immortal sects of the Yui Kingdom, is an item given by the cultivation sects to cultivation clans who have performed great services. Anyone who presents the token to the sect that issued it will receive treatment equivalent to the final victor of the Ascension Immortal Assembly. They will receive the same treatment, a foundation establishment pill, and the right to join the sect. However, this item has always circulated only within the various cultivation families. Ordinary cultivators have never had the chance to see it. Therefore, its depiction here is based solely on its rumored appearance.
Finally, Clearstream Sage added a note in slightly smaller script.
This token can be transferred and traded between cultivation families. The edicts themselves date back to ancient times, so the issuing sect recognizes the token, not the bearer. As long as someone presents it, It can elevate a low-level cultivator to the heavens in a single step, a truly heaven-defying treasure for those at the lower ranks.
After reading the text below and looking at the 7 illustrations, Han Li felt his mouth go dry and his heart began to pound fiercely in his chest. When Han Li first heard the words Ascension Assembly, he immediately thought of the strange token he'd gotten from the dwarf. One side of that token was also inscribed with the words Ascend to Immortality. It made him wonder, could there be some connection between the two? Later, when he heard a detailed account of the Ascension Assembly, there was no mention whatsoever of the Ascension token. He assumed it was just a coincidence and put it out of his mind. Yet, he never expected to discover its true origins and purpose within this little booklet he'd acquired by chance. He never imagined the Ascension token's purpose was so significant. Han Li grew more and more excited as he thought about it. He hurriedly fished out the black, unremarkable token from his person and, comparing it to the illustrations, found the one with a similar pattern, Yellow Maple Valley.
This Immortal Ascension token was issued by Yellow Maple Valley. But how did such a precious item end up in the hands of a low-level cultivator like the Golden Light Taoist?
Actually, that dwarf really was the original owner of this token. The now famous Qin-Ye Ridge was once home to 2 equally renowned cultivation clans, the Ye family and the Qin family. Bound by marriage, the 2 families maintained a rather cordial relationship. This Ascension token was an heirloom passed down through the generations of the Qin family. The reason it was never used was simply that the Qin family could never find a cultivation prodigy worthy of it, so they preferred to keep passing it down rather than waste such a treasure. But gradually, as the Qin family's male heirs dwindled, their fortunes declined. Meanwhile, the Yi family prospered and grew ever more powerful and prosperous, so much so that within the cultivation world, people only knew of the Yi family on Qin-Yi Ridge, and the Qin family faded into obscurity. By the time it reached Patriarch Golden Light's generation, the Qin family had dwindled to just him as the sole male heir, and his aptitude was abysmally poor, leaving him with no hope of ever reaching foundation establishment. So, the Yi family set their sights on the Qin family's heirlooms, and the Ascension token was their top prize. While Golden Light Immortal's cultivation aptitude was lacking, his ability to read people was surprisingly sharp, and since he was as timid as a mouse, the moment the Yi family began to make a move, he got wind of it in advance, hastily gathered up the Immortal Ascension token and the talisman with the small sword drawn on it, and fled the scene. And so he remained on the run for over a decade. The Golden Light Master had been living in seclusion at a Taoist temple in the barbarian lands. With his shallow magic power, he managed to swindle food and drink, leading a rather carefree and comfortable life. And so, during the subsequent siege of the 7 Mysteries sect, the Immortal Ascension token ended up falling into Han Li's lap. Han Li knew nothing of the Qin family's affairs, but that did nothing to dampen his wild elation. He paced back and forth in the room, fiddling with the Immortal Command token in his hands. The more he looked at it, the more pleasing it became. After the time it takes an incense stick to burn, Han Li finally calmed down. He settled the excitement in his heart and began to consider his future plans and the feasibility of going to Yellow Maple Valley to seek a master. Han Li tossed and turned all night. The next day, the Tainan gathering finally came to an end. From early morning, many cultivators began leaving the valley one after another, and the crowd within thinned out by nearly half. By that afternoon, several senior cultivators of more advanced years appeared in the plaza, with the Azure Rock True Man among them. After offering some words of encouragement and praise, they formally declared the Tainan gathering concluded. Immediately, the remaining cultivators departed, some in small groups, others flying alone like solitary geese. At that moment, Qingwen and the others approached Han Li, extending their invitation to travel together once more. Han Li remained silent for a moment, then shook his head and declined the invitation. This left Wu Juji and the Mo brothers deeply dissatisfied with him, and even Taoist Qingwen's expression turned rather sour.
Since Brother Han is unwilling to travel with us, Qingwen won't force the issue. Take care on your journey.
Taoist Qingwen gave Han Li's shoulder a pat, then left the valley with the others. Han Li never noticed. In that instant when the Taoist patted his shoulder, he had sprinkled some colorless, odorless powder from his sleeve onto Han Li's clothes. The spot where it landed showed no sign of anything unusual. Just as Wu Juji and the others emerged from the thick fog at the valley's mouth, Priest Qingwen had somehow fallen to the rear. Seizing the moment when the men ahead weren't looking, a flash of ferocity crossed his face. With a sudden flick of his sleeve, a streak of fire shot out on a diagonal. It vanished into the bushes at the side. His face then returned to normal, as righteous and imposing as ever, as if nothing had just happened. Han Li was unaware of everything Priest Qingwen had done, but he was a cautious man by nature, so he didn't set out from Tainan Valley immediately. Instead, he stayed in the valley for one more night. Only when the sky was just beginning to lighten the next morning did he slip out of the valley, without a soul noticing. Not long after Han Li departed, two more figures hurried to the spot. A thumb-sized orb of green light led the way, circling the place where Han Li had just paused before darting off in the direction he had gone. The two men immediately gave chase, following the green glow. Han Li ran for over 100 miles without stopping. He only paused when he reached a small hill, where he sat down to eat something and recover his stamina and magic power. Little did Han Li know, his string of bizarre actions had the two-man team chasing him, cursing up a storm. It's no wonder, really. Who gets up to travel before the crack of dawn? If they hadn't planted a little something on Han Li beforehand, they probably would have lost him ages ago. What infuriated them even more was that Han Li kept going for over 100 li, leaving them to eat his dust the whole way and nearly exhausting themselves. After all, these two had been cultivators for a long time, accustomed to a life of ease. They hadn't had to rely on their own 2 feet for a long-distance trek like this in ages. An unknown amount of time passed. Han Li sat cross-legged in a hollow at the base of the hill, his eyes closed, utterly motionless as if he had entered a state of self-forgetfulness. The only sounds around him were the long and short chirps of mountain insects. There was no other noise.